On the evening of October 7th, 1949, a 26-year-old Hollywood actress kissed her 5-year-old daughter goodbye and walked out of her Los Angeles home. She said she was meeting her former husband about a missed child support payment. After that, she claimed she was expected on a movie set for a night shoot, but there was no scheduled film work. Her former husband denied meeting her, and Jean Spangler never came home. 2 days later, her damaged black purse was discovered in Griffith Park. One side appeared to have been violently torn apart. Inside was an unfinished handwritten message addressed to a man named Kirk. It read, "Kirk, can't wait any longer. Going to see Dr. Scott. It will work best this way while Mother is away." The message ended with a comma, as though Jean had been interrupted before she could finish it. Police searched the enormous park. They questioned doctors, actors, former lovers, and alleged criminal associates. They investigated the possibility of kidnapping, murder, a secret pregnancy, and an illegal medical procedure. Yet no confirmed trace of Jean was ever found. Who was Kirk? Who was Dr. Scott? Why did Jean lie about working that night? And was her purse deliberately planted to make investigators follow the wrong story? More than 7 decades later, the disappearance of Jean Spangler remains one of Hollywood's most haunting mysteries. John Elizabeth Spangler was born on September 2, 1923. By the late 1940s, she was living in Los Angeles and attempting to establish herself in the entertainment industry. She had worked as a dancer and model and appeared in minor or uncredited film roles. She was not yet a major star, but she was close enough to Hollywood's glamorous world to meet performers, producers, and powerful men. Behind the photographs and movie premieres, however, Jean's private life was complicated. She had married Dexter Benner in 1942.
The couple had one daughter, Christine, before their marriage ended. Their divorce was followed by a bitter custody dispute. Jean eventually obtained custody of Christine, but disagreements involving the child and financial support reportedly continued.
At the time she disappeared, Jean lived in the Park La Brea area of Los Angeles with several family members, including her mother Florence, her daughter Christine, and her sister-in-law Sophie. Jean was described as sociable, attractive, and ambitious. She enjoyed nightlife and was reportedly acquainted with various people around Hollywood and Los Angeles. However, the difference between knowing someone casually and being deeply involved with that person would later become critically important. After Jean vanished, investigators heard many stories about the men in her life. Some accounts were supported by witnesses. Others were rumors produced by newspaper coverage and Hollywood gossip. The truth became increasingly difficult to separate from speculation. Friday, October 7th, 1949, began as an apparently ordinary day. Jean's mother was away, visiting relatives, leaving Sophie and other family members at home with Christine. At approximately 5 p.m., Jean prepared to leave the apartment. She reportedly told Sophie that she was going to meet her former husband, Dexter Benner. According to Jean, Benner owed her a child support payment, and she intended to discuss it with him. Jean also said she would later report to a studio for a night shoot. She left Christine in Sophie's care and walked out of the apartment. That was the last confirmed time her immediate family saw her. At around 7 p.m., Jean telephoned the house. She spoke with Sophie and reportedly said she would be working for the full 8-hour shift and would probably not return until the following morning. She also spoke briefly with Christine. Nothing in the call clearly indicated that Jean was in danger. However, the stories she gave her family soon began to collapse. When Jean failed to return the following morning, Sophie became worried and contacted the police. Investigators checked with film studios and industry records. They could not find evidence that Jean had been scheduled to work on any movie production on the night she disappeared. There appeared to be no night shoot. Police then contacted Dexter Benner. Benner said he had not met Jean that evening. He claimed he had not seen her for several weeks. His new wife reportedly supported his account. If Benner was telling the truth, then both reasons Jean gave for leaving home were false. She had not gone to meet her former husband. She had not gone to work on a film. Jean had apparently invented a cover story because she did not want her family to know where she was actually going or whom she planned to meet. This deception became one of the most important elements of the entire investigation. A possible witness later reported seeing Jean at the farmers market in Los Angeles at approximately 6 p.m. The market was not far from her home. According to the witness, Jean appeared to be waiting for someone. The sighting placed her alive roughly an hour after she left the apartment, but it did not reveal who she intended to meet. Did someone collect her in a vehicle? Did she voluntarily travel to Griffith Park? Did she meet a romantic partner, a doctor, or somebody connected to Hollywood? No one could provide a reliable answer. The telephone call at approximately 7 p.m. presented another mystery. Investigators needed to establish where Jean made it and whether she was alone. In 1949, police did not have mobile phone records, digital location tracking, surveillance camera footage, or modern DNA databases. A telephone call from a public booth could leave little trace. If another person stood beside Jean and instructed her to reassure her family, investigators had no recording of the conversation to examine.
If she was acting voluntarily, the call may simply have been intended to prevent Sophie from worrying. Either way, the telephone call appears to be the last confirmed communication from Jean. By the following morning, she had disappeared.
On Sunday, October 9th, 2 days after Jean disappeared, a park employee found a black purse near the Ferndale entrance of Griffith Park. The park covers thousands of acres of hills, trails, wooded sections, and rugged terrain. The purse was identified as Jean's. Its discovery immediately transformed a missing person investigation into something far more disturbing. The bag was damaged. Its straps were described as torn or broken on one side, creating the impression that it may have been pulled forcefully from Jean's arm. However, the purse alone could not prove that a violent struggle had occurred. It might have been damaged during an assault. It might have been torn accidentally. It might have been deliberately altered and planted. Inside the purse were Jean's personal belongings. Reports indicated there was no money, although Sophie said Jean had left home without money, making robbery an uncertain motive. There was no body beside the purse, no confirmed blood evidence, and no clear trail showing where Jean had gone. The location created two broad possibilities. Either something happened to Jean inside or near Griffith Park, or someone placed the purse there after harming her somewhere else. The second possibility was particularly alarming. If the purse had been planted, then the person responsible may have wanted investigators to search the park while evidence disappeared elsewhere. Police officers and volunteers conducted extensive searches throughout Griffith Park. They looked through paths, ravines, hillsides, and isolated areas. Despite the manpower involved, they did not find Jean.
No clothing positively identified as hers was recovered. No human remains linked to her were discovered. No confirmed crime scene was located. The purse was the most significant physical clue, but the strangest evidence was the unfinished message found inside it.
The handwritten note was addressed simply to Kirk. It stated that Jean could not wait any longer and was going to see Dr. Scott. It added that the arrangement would work best while her mother was away. The note ended abruptly with a comma. This unfinished sentence has generated decades of speculation. The most common interpretation was that Jean may have been pregnant and was planning to undergo an abortion. In 1949, abortion was heavily restricted and generally illegal in California, except under limited medical circumstances. Women seeking to end pregnancies sometimes relied on secret and unsafe procedures. Some investigators reportedly learned from friends that Jean believed she was pregnant. However, there is no publicly established medical record confirming a pregnancy. The note could support the pregnancy theory, but it does not prove it. Dr. Scott might have referred to a physician. It could also have been an alias, nickname, or code name. Jean had reportedly known a man nicknamed Scotty in the past, although sources differ regarding his importance to the case. Police attempted to identify doctors named Scott who might have treated Jean, but no confirmed match was located. Then there was the name Kirk. Jean had recently appeared as an extra in a film involving actor Kirk Douglas. When Douglas learned that police were investigating a note addressed to Kirk, he contacted authorities to clarify his position. Douglas said he had only limited contact with Jean and was in Palm Springs at the time of her disappearance. Investigators did not identify evidence connecting him to the crime. The fact that a famous actor shared the name in the note created intense public attention, but a matching first name is not evidence of guilt. Kirk may have been an unknown romantic partner. It may have been a false name used by someone Jean was protecting. It may not even have been the person she met that evening. The incomplete note also raised questions about when it was written. Was Jean writing it before leaving home?
Was she writing inside a vehicle? Did someone interrupt her? Or was it an older note unrelated to her disappearance? Without a date, envelope, or completed context, investigators could not determine its exact meaning.
Because Jean said she intended to meet Dexter Benner, police naturally examined him as part of the investigation. The couple's relationship had included divorce, financial disagreements, and a difficult custody battle. These circumstances provided possible sources of conflict. However, Benner denied meeting Jean on October 7th. His wife supported his account, and authorities never publicly established evidence proving that he was involved in Jean's disappearance. Jean may have used Benner's name simply because the child support dispute provided a believable reason to leave home. Her family already knew there were unresolved issues between the former couple. Saying she needed to speak with him would not have seemed unusual. That explanation leads to another important question. Why did Jean need an excuse? Perhaps she was meeting a married man. Perhaps she was attending an illegal medical appointment. Perhaps she was involved with people her family disliked. Or perhaps she feared that revealing her destination would place someone in danger. Whatever the reason, Jean's cover story protected the identity of the person she actually intended to see. The theory of an illegal abortion became one of the leading explanations. Under this scenario, Jean believed she was pregnant and arranged to meet Kirk, possibly the father of the child. The two planned for her to see a doctor while Jean's mother was away. Something then went wrong during the procedure. Jean may have died from bleeding, infection, anesthesia complications, or another medical emergency. Because the procedure was illegal, those involved might have concealed her body rather than reporting the death. The theory could explain the reference to a doctor and why the timing depended on her mother's absence.
It could also explain Jean's false story about a night shoot, since she may have needed several hours away from home without questions. But significant problems remain. No doctor was identified. No medical location was discovered.
No witness confirmed transporting Jean to an abortion provider, and no remains were recovered. The pregnancy itself was never conclusively established through publicly available evidence. The theory is plausible, but plausibility is not proof. Another theory connected Jean to men associated with Los Angeles organized crime. Reports claimed she had socialized with individuals linked to gangster Mickey Cohen's circle. Two men sometimes mentioned in accounts of the case were David Ogle and Frank Nicoli, Cohen associates who also disappeared in 1949. This led some investigators and writers to wonder whether Jean knew something dangerous or became caught in a criminal conflict. Under this theory, Jean may have been traveling with one or both men, witnessed criminal activity, or was eliminated because she possessed sensitive information. Some reports even speculated that all three victims were buried in a hidden desert grave. However, no confirmed physical evidence has established that Jean disappeared with Ogle or Nicoli. Being seen socially with criminals does not prove involvement in criminal activity. Los Angeles nightlife brought actresses, dancers, businessmen, entertainers, and underworld figures into some of the same restaurants and clubs. The organized crime theory offers a possible explanation for the permanent disappearance of Jean's body, but it relies heavily on association and rumor. The purse remains the strongest piece of physical evidence, yet it also creates the greatest confusion. If Jean was attacked in Griffith Park, why was no additional trace discovered during the extensive search? If she died during a secret medical procedure elsewhere, why would her purse be taken to the park? A person attempting to hide a crime could have used the purse to create a false location. The damaged handle might have been intended to suggest kidnapping or robbery. The unfinished note might have been left inside because the culprit did not notice it, or because the culprit wanted police to find it.
A staged purse could direct suspicion toward a fictional doctor and an unknown Kirk, but staging the evidence would have been risky. The person would need access to Jean's bag and enough knowledge to select a location where it would likely be found.
There is also no conclusive evidence that the purse was staged. Its condition can be interpreted in several ways, and investigators lacked modern forensic tools that might have revealed additional DNA, fibers, or fingerprints. The established evidence in Jean Spangler's case is remarkably limited. Jean left home at approximately 5 p.m. on October 7, 1949. She gave her family two reasons for leaving: meeting her former husband and working on a film set.
Both explanations were challenged by the investigation. A witness possibly saw her at the farmer's market at around 6 p.m., appearing to wait for someone. Jean called home at approximately 7 p.m. and said she would be working through the night.
She never returned. Her purse was found in Griffith Park 2 days later. The purse was damaged and contained an unfinished note addressed to Kirk, mentioning Dr. Scott and Jean's mother being away. Despite a major search, Jean's body was never found. No suspect was charged. No confession was verified. No confirmed medical provider, romantic partner, or criminal associate was conclusively linked to her disappearance. Every major theory contains gaps. Jean Spangler entered Hollywood hoping to be noticed. Tragically, she became famous not for a leading role, but for disappearing. Behind the mystery was a young mother whose daughter went to sleep believing she would see her again. Christine grew up without knowing what happened to her mother. The note to Kirk continues to attract attention because it appears to offer an answer while revealing almost nothing. It suggests urgency. It suggests secrecy. It suggests a plan involving another man and possibly a doctor. But the sentence stops before Jean can explain what she intended to do. Perhaps she was interrupted. Perhaps she changed her mind. Perhaps the note had nothing to do with her disappearance. The evidence supports several possibilities: a secret medical procedure, violence by someone she trusted, involvement with criminal figures, or a carefully staged abduction. Yet none can be declared the solution. Jean Spangler's case is a reminder that an unsolved mystery is not a puzzle created for entertainment. It is an incomplete life story. Someone knew why Jean invented the night shoot. Someone may have known who was waiting for her at the farmer's market. Someone may have understood the identities behind the names Kirk and Dr. Scott. And unless the missing evidence is someday recovered, the final words in Jean's story will remain like the message inside her purse.